Hello knitters! I decided to make this video to answer a question that I have been getting most in classes and from you all the time. People are contacting me, and that's absolutely fine. I think it's a fantastic question and it's very valid, so I decided to make a video and answer all of you about translating or not translating, and translating here between quotation marks. Do I have to modify or do I have to translate a pattern that I own in order to use Portuguese style knitting? So again, it's a very common question. I've been answering each one of you in particular, but with the video I hope I will reach more of you and encourage more of you to keep learning and improving in Portuguese style knitting without being discouraged, because the answer is no. You do not have to modify, you don't not have to translate anything, any pattern that you already own in order to knit Portuguese style. The reason is what you're going to do when you learn or you work with the Portuguese style knitting, it's a different way of performing the knit stitch and the purl stitch. Just like continental knitters don't have to change any patterns when they come from English knitting or vice versa. If you were born knitting English style and later on you convert to the continental style, you didn't have to change any of your patterns. And the same is true for Portuguese style knitting. When the pattern says knit, you're going to perform the knit stitch. When the pattern says purl, you're going to perform the purl stitch. And so in this manner, you're going to follow any patterns that you already have, okay? And my patterns, by the way, I am not a designer per se, I'm a teacher, but whatever I design to teach you the Portuguese style knitting doesn't have to be done using the Portuguese style knitting. It's just a knitting pattern as any of the knitting patterns you know, okay? So that's, I want to leave it clear. For example, I have a couple things here. I have this vest that is, it's a mock cable. This pattern is in my book and it's in my shop, okay? So it's a mock cable. In the back is a stockinette stitch. And so the pattern, it's gonna give you the instructions to knit a cable, and it's a combination of knits and purls and yarn over. And you're going to perform this using Portuguese style or not. The pattern doesn't change anything. You could use English, you could use Shetland, you could use continental, or you could use Portuguese style knitting. The pattern will be the same for any style in it, okay? The same with lace. It's an old blanket that I have with a lace pattern. It's a combination of increases, decreases, yarn overs, same in Portuguese in any style you knit. The only thing would change, and I tell this on my class, if you own my class on Portuguese style knitting basics, I have a chapter there that talks about knitting things in the round, inside out. And that's what I think people get confused if they have to translate to Portuguese or not. The answer, again, it's no. For example, I have this hat here. This hat, this beret, is knit in the round, and it's a stockinette stitch. So the pattern is going to tell you cast on so many stitches, work reverse the stockinette, and then go into stocking stitch, which is knit in the round. Okay, you would knit this hat all the way, and then you start decreasing, and you end up with few stitches here and you gather them together. I prefer the purl stitch instead of the knit stitch. So I would do this beret inside out. And that's, again, the only instance that you would, in quotation marks, translate or modify something. So I would purl this entire hat in the round, and I would increase and decrease on the purl side instead of doing on the knit side. So again, I don't want to confuse you, But with the Portuguese style of knitting, I prefer the purl stitch instead of the knit stitch. So if I have to produce a stockinette stitch in the round, I would prefer to work on the non-public side or the pro side. All right, and that's true for any tube that I would produce. The same would be a sweater. The same would be for a Fair Isle sweater. If I have to work with colors, I would pro the sweater around and I would work with colors on the pro side of the fabric. So I hope that's really clear. Keep asking me, keep in touch with me and tell me how you're doing. But don't be afraid of converting or learning the Portuguese style knitting because you are not going to be able to follow any patterns that are out there. Patterns that you buy on the shop, patterns you buy on Ravelry, my own patterns, any pattern will be good for any style of knitting, okay? So again, if you have any questions, my email is andreawongknits@gmail.com. Don't forget to look my website for this class. It's very important if you don't have any concept on the Portuguese style knitting. I have a class on the basics, which is Portuguese style knitting basics. I also have other classes available. And here I have my YouTube videos for you to keep improving your skills. Okay? I hope this is very helpful to you and I see you next time.